Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video we've got a bit of a head-to-head, two extremes. We've got the hybrid iron versus the bladed iron. Player's iron, game improvement iron, whatever you want to call them, they're very much one extreme to the other. And in today's video I thought I'd give you a bit of an insight into how they perform on the golf course, give you some tech behind them, and see the features and benefits that hopefully can help your game depending on the type of golfer you are. Let's get out on the golf course and see how they perform. Oof, I don't know about this hat being on. It's a bit warm out here today. It was supposed to be one of the coldest snaps before our summer kicks off. Now, just for this test, I have got a 5-iron through to pitching wedge in both sets. So I've got my bladed set, 5-iron through to wedge, and the 11, who are the company that make the hybrids that we're using today, that's 5-iron through to pitching wedge as well. And one footnote that you have to note with these is the hybrids are fractionally stronger in loft than what I've got with those blades. So for lots of players out there, with a bladed set of irons, you're looking for control, so people want spin. With a hybrid set of irons, they're designed to launch up in the air for you, so therefore they need to manage that height by maybe just delivering a little bit less loft with the club. So it's kind of like a balance point with both of these clubs, so something to be mindful of. So if I'm going with a 7-iron with the set of blades and a 7-iron with the set of hybrids, really that's not a fair comparison. You kind of want to be 7-iron in the blades versus 8-iron in the hybrids. And for this test we've got white ball that we're going to be using for the blades, if you haven't already noticed that, and we've got yellow ball that we're going to be using for the hybrids. So just coming up to the yellow ball, so the hybrid tee shot. The problem I've got now is I've got this rather large tree in my way. Now, this is 180 yards to the green, so it's definitely going to be a 5-iron for me out of my bladed set of irons. So going to be probably a 5-iron because the pin's right at the back as well, so 5-iron in the hybrid. Now my first thoughts, I'm not sure I can get my 5-iron up and over that tree. Okay, so there's the first problem. Or not a problem, it's just something you have to manage. The difference between these two clubs is that the blade is designed to be punched through the air, you know, it's designed to be penetrating. Better players historically want to see that ball flight. They want to be able to manage their own ball flight. They want to be able to keep it down. They want to be able to pop it up in the air when they want to pop it up in the air. But there's always going to be limitations, and that's the reverse with the hybrid. If I wanted to hit, let's say, a low hybrid shot, it's a lot harder for me to keep that ball down than it is to pop it up in the air like you just saw. It just flew nicely over the top of that tree, no problem. Whereas the blade hit the top of the tree, kicks down, I'm now staring double bogey in the face sort of thing. You just got to be able to manage the ball flight. Always a difficult this one, but you kind of try not to categorize players when you see better players to game improvement type of people that want help. You know, historically or traditionally, the better player can probably manage their ball flight just that little bit easier. More practice, playing a lot more golf maybe, whereas beginner golfers or people that just need that little bit more help, historically probably want the ball to get up in the air quickly for them, which is why these clubs have kind of been designed really to help those golfers. But that's not putting you all in the same bracket, because I know a lot of golfers out there that need help that can't, let's say, bring the ball flight down. They hit it way too high and they need a flight to bring it down. And that's something that you just have to manage as a skill. So pitching wedges that I've got in my hand, what you'll find with both of them, and you'll see at the bottom of the clubs, 43 degrees of loft in the pitching wedge from the 11, the hybrid, compared to 47 degrees of loft that I'm getting out of the bladed pitching wedge. Now 47 is kind of like a standard, I suppose, for a bladed set of irons. If you're moving into more game improvement irons, you'll see that loft kind of come off. If you go to, let's say, T100 or the CB version of these, you're going to see probably around 34 degrees of loft, but the bladed traditional lofts are going to be a little bit more, well, a little bit more lofty compared to what we're seeing out of the pitching wedge from the hybrid. So again, both designed to play slightly different. The 11 going to pop up maybe a little bit more, so the loft can be a little bit stronger in this, but again, you need to be able to manage that as well, how the ball reacts off the face. So for me, I'm just going to play this just standard, like a putting action, ball at the back of my stance, and just kind of putt it through and let the loft do the work. Pretty good. Could you see how that skipped forward there? And that's more the fact that it's a little bit damp out here this morning. Let's see what the blade does. Very different in their, well, very different in their sort of shots as they elevated off the club face. Almost kind of identical results, so pretty similar in the length of putt that I've got, but that hybrid kind of wanting to push forward, it almost felt like it came out maybe even a fraction lower, and maybe loft is taking effect now at such a small shot. That ball certainly came out a lot lower and then skipped on from there. Now you got to remember it's landing on a little bit of wet grass, so you can take that into consideration as well as you're getting a bit of skidding. But when he saw the pitching wedge from the bladed set, definitely I feel like that ball popped off the face maybe a little bit higher, so now descent angle's taking effect. I don't feel like spin is going to take a massive part of what's going to happen when it lands on that green, but definitely a slightly different ball coming out hotter off the hybrid running out, whereas the pitching wedge from the blade going a little bit higher, landing a little bit softer, and sort of almost like checking up on me. The next shot I want to talk to you about is the fairway bunker shots. Difficult shot. You need to be able to clip that ball off the surface. One of the big things that I see with lots of players is that they tend to end up fatting it out of the bunker, so catching the ground or the sand a little bit before the ball, and therefore not getting it, not advancing it very far at the fairway. So with the hybrids, you've got that little bit of, you've got that sort of plate at the bottom of the club that hopefully we might get the sense of like aquaplaning or a bit more of a bounce, so get that club to sort of not dig in quite as much. So let's hit a couple of shots out of this fairway bunker shot and see how we perform. 140, I think we're going to go with 9-iron here. Nicely clipped. Yeah, might just come up a fraction short, but pretty good shot, straight out the flag. Well, if I'm honest, I couldn't really feel a difference with those two shots that I've just hit there. The 9-iron from the blade kind of went straight at the flag, ended up a fraction short, whereas the hybrid kind of just leaked out to the right-hand side. I didn't feel necessarily much of a difference at impact. Caught them both nice and clean. So this might be another video, but I think it's actually just down to the fact that you just need the skill set. You need to learn how to play that shot. If you're somebody struggling with fairway bunker shots, I don't think one of these clubs is going to help you more than the other. I think it's more that you just need to go and have a bit of a session with your pro and figure it out for yourself as to how to get out of a shot like that from about 100, 150 yards. That's down to you, I'm afraid. Right, 17th hole is a par 3. Got a little bit of wind now as we've gone through the morning. The wind's picked up a little bit. So yardage, you've got 155 yards to the flag. But I want to try and keep this ball down. We talked about hitting it up in the air over that tree, and the blade one struggled compared to the hybrid. But how does it compare now when you're trying to keep that ball flight down? Maybe take a little bit of spin off the shot as well. So I'm going to go at it a little bit easier, as in take the speed out of my shot, out of my swing, which should bring the spin down on the actual shot. Try and keep that flight down, nice and flighted down, keep control of that ball. Got 7-iron. This is where the blade should really come into its own, should really be able to control this flight nicely, which is kind of one of the reasons why I enjoy using these clubs. No problem, kept that flight nice and down, took the speed out of my swing, which just kept the spin off of it, but then it reduced the distance that I hit it, so I got it onto the front edge. Let's have a look at the hybrid. No problem. It's gone a little bit pulley and left of the green, but not gonna lie, a little bit surprised there as to how well that ball flight came down. It's kind of like used to what I'm seeing with my blade, but to be able to see that flight come down nicely with the hybrid, like no problem. Again, it all comes down to you practicing those shots if you want to be good at them. The golf club isn't going to therefore hurt you or help you. It's going to help you get the ball in the air for sure, but it's certainly not going to hurt you trying to keep that ball flight down. Again, just a skill set you've got to learn. Another thing I want to mention, gear effect. If you don't know much about gear effect, go and check it out, go and look it up, what gear effect is in golf. Gear effect is more in play when it comes to woods, drivers and hybrids. What happens is if you get a shot that is caught out the toe, the ball will tend to want to go, if let's say a right-handed golfer is going to go out to the right, but then the gear effect, the spin axis of the ball is going to want to tilt it back towards the target. If you've got a shot that comes out the heel, again it's going to do the reverse. It's going to kind of push it down to the left hand side and then want a gear effect back around to the right. It's where two gears kind of align and go against each other, and that's what we're getting. So you get this kind of roll on the face of the club, enabled to be able to push that ball out to the right or push that ball out to the left with the roll, and then to counteract with that gear effect coming in. You don't get that with irons because they're flat faced. You don't get that CG moving around so much as what you would do in the bulge of the back of the club. So I'm no scientist, I'm no tech when it comes to that, but I do know that's how it affects it. So we're going to get that when we play these irons, when we play these hybrid irons, we're going to get gear effect. So whereas gear effect is there to, it's there to help you. It's there to help the shots come back onto target when you don't get the strike quite where you want it. Not going to get that with the bladed iron. If you catch it out the toe, it's going to kind of want to be pushing out to the right hand side. If you catch it out the heel, it's going to want to push you out down the left hand side. So something you need to take into consideration. I'm going to try and hit a couple of shots here now with my 5 irons up the last here at 18 at Churston, and just see if we can get a little bit out the toe and see if we can gear it back for us. Oh yeah, there it is. All day there it is. Easy. Right, let's see what it does with the iron. See it. Absolutely you can see it. Another big thing you need to think about as well is what's behind the club. And what I mean by that is that there's nothing behind this blade. There's no help there. So what's going to happen is if you strike it way out the toe like I did there, ball speed's going to just be ripped off. You're going to lose power going into that shot. Yes, you're going to lose spin with both shots, backspin, but you're going to also lose a lot of ball speed out of this 5 iron compared to what I'm going to get, let's say, out of the hybrid. There's loads of help behind there, and this is what these clubs are all about. They're there to help you with off-centered strikes. They're there to help you get the ball in the air. We've seen that from the test that we've done out on the golf course today. So I just want to share with you where these two balls have kind of ended up. You can see from the flight and the shot tracer exactly how the movement of the ball was certainly coming back with the hybrid and trying to stay there with the iron. Just walking up, this is where the 5 iron of the blade ended up, and I will pace it up to that point to see how much we've lost. 35 yards. 35 yards is what I've lost there. Yes, you could argue that they're actually slightly different in their lofts, and maybe the difference with them would be 10 yards if one was playing like a 4 iron, one was playing like a 5 iron. Maybe there's 10 yards. So even if it's 10 yards, there's still a 25 yard loss from hitting the blade compared to hitting the hybrid. Just before we finish off this video, I do want to talk about bunkers, and I know we've done the fairway bunker, but I do want to talk about what happens when you get in the greenside bunker with these two clubs. Now, not that you're going to use, let's say, pitching wedges out of the bunker, but that's all I've got to work with today. Now, this is where the sole of the club plays a big part. The bounce of the club as well plays a massive part in how you're going to perform out of a bunker. With a bunker shot with a traditional kind of wedge, should we say bunker wedge or sand wedge, you're going to see a little bit of bounce on the back of the club, and this is why it's important to get yourself into specialist wedges whenever you get ready for that. But what you can do with that is you can open the club face up so you can manipulate the loft and deliver different types of shots into bunkers. But again, it's a skill set that you need to learn. However, one of the things that we talked about previously, which is a lot of players struggle getting the ball out of the bunker. They tend to leave the club in the sand or thin it or shank it or do lots of other things that go on there with a shot out of the trap. A lot of it mental more than anything else, but it's technically as well, you need to get it right. With the pitching wedge here, if you see the sole on the bottom, this is going to almost hurt you in a way, so you don't really want to be trying to open this club face up too much. You want to try and play this as square faced as you possibly can, still leaning towards the target, still trying to play it like a bunker shot, but allow the club to kind of dig in and then let the sole of the club glide in the sand. Let it go into the sand, allow the club to come out of the sand, which is going to help you. If you start trying to open this club face up, you're going to lift the leading edge up, you're going to bounce into that sand, and the ball's going to thin into the face or ping it out over the other side of the green. So really important to think about that. So if you're someone that's struggling with bunkers, you know, this might help you. Straight faced, allow that club to dig into the sand and see how it performs. Let's hit a couple of bunker shots next to the green and see how we get on. So actually a really big difference in feel when it comes to playing those two bunker shots. The pitching wedge of the blade definitely wanted to dig into the sand, get that club under the sand a little bit more, allowing a little bit more sand between club face and ball, coming out maybe a little bit deader, softer. Whereas the hybrid iron, it just pinged out of there. So again, if you're struggling with your bunker play, struggling to get out of the bunker, then maybe a club like this with loads of sole, loads of bounce, loads of help, it's going to help you get out of the bunker just that little bit easier. Absolutely no problem with both of them coming out, but just one going out just a little bit further, which has kind of been the common theme with the whole testing that we've done here. Just that hybrid just wanting to go out there just that little bit more. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video and you've now got maybe a little bit of a better understanding of the difference between how these two clubs are going to perform. And players' irons, that like I said before, it's not just a blade, it can be in a cavity back as well, which has got a little bit more help than we've got in the blade, and maybe I'll do a video on that as well. But these two clubs are very much designed for two different types of golfers. If you want something with a little bit more help, a little bit more height, and maybe a little bit more speed, then probably the hybrid iron set is going to help with your game. But if you're somebody who wants maybe a little bit more control, maybe has maybe a higher skill set, higher skill level, then the blade is going to perform for you. And the reason why I use a blade over, let's say, a set of these is because I don't want any shocks. I want to know that if I hit it out the toe that it's going to lose that ball speed. I don't want to hit a shot that just shoots over the back of the green because I haven't got the control on that shot. And that's the downside of going into a kind of a game improvement iron. That's not just a hybrid set of irons, that's a game improvement iron. You're going to lose a little bit of spin with those lower lofts on the clubs. But I'd like to hear what you think down in the comments. Are you using either of these clubs, or are you using something similar to these clubs? I'd like to hear down there. And also, what do you think of this video? If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again very soon.